got another week of
This is the PYO Boys,
debauchery
man.
for the mind them. What's going on?
Yeah,
So
we're back.
Today on the PYO Boys podcast, we got a little bit more broad of a group today, right? You're gonna have 4 hosts today. You're gonna have
It's your boy Biggs. I'm here, back in effect.
it's Billy, and today we have with us
Gabby.
And Grandma V.
Yay! Applause. Grandma can't hear the applause, but there are applause going.
Grandma. You've become a really, really, really popular figure in the podcast. Like out of nowhere, you just came and you took it by storm.
Oh, yeah?
How you feeling about being podcast granny?
Good.
You
It should be on a podcast great granny too. Not just a granny.
Yes, you've regaled us with many stories. You are the youngest great grandma in the history
No,
because you don't age. You age backwards. This is the only lady I know that has been getting progressively more youthful since I met her.
God grace.
You looking the same way for 30, 40 years now.
I'm 63 now, bro.
Come on. Come on.
It's something in her water, not just the water.
Oh, the gas.
It's something in her water.
The gas will let out.
1962, February 64.
And Big, you about what, 50?
Yeah, more or less, give or take.
We old now. How do you navigate that? Because I certainly don't feel that old. I know that it's a relative thing.
Because nobody don't feel 63.
Yeah.
As your age goes up.
Yeah.
By the way, your uncle would have been 40 today, he passed away, and your uncle kept on birthday yesterday.
Oh, word?
R.I.P. Uncle.
Yeah, we miss Kevon.
70 son.
Yeah, they used to say I used to look a lot like Kevon. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. How do you grapple with that? Because I feel like to different demographics, you and I get into very different conversations. Like we're kind of at that space where some people would look at you and go, "You're a baby, you don't know anything yet," and then some people would look at you like you're ancient.
Not in this time.
Nah, I was actually discussing this the other day, and I was saying how, because I'm about to be 30, right? And 30 is like that. It's like being the middle child, right? Like it's that weird middle ground where you have 2 separate groups of people that at all times just judge you for your age, right? So you have the younger crowd who's early 20s, teenagers. They'll look at somebody like 30 and they'll be like, damn, you old.
Yes.
You old as hell.
Actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm 24 now.
Right.
And it's like, I feel weird because like a midpoint to be like going 25, I'm like, damn.
Right.
I was just 19 2 minutes ago.
Right. But even a 24-year-old, they would be like, 30? Goddamn, grandpa. But then you have
over here to judge you differently by Trinidad, you're not old. Over here, only time you started to get 30, they started saying you're old.
Yeah.
But then you have your demographic of I'd say 30, I'm gonna say 37 and up. They'll look at me and be like, oh, you're 29? Oh my God, you still don't know anything. You're still super young. You're a baby, and it's like, yo, which one am I? Which one? So I think I'm getting used to just being that the middle child at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being in that, just living in that gray area, that gray space of I'm not old and I'm not young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I am what I am at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet that. I am what I am.
I am what I am. The conversations definitely have gotten different though, compared to
And I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I see behaviors that I used to engage in when I was young, and I just look at it and I was like, oh no, that was me. Like when I'm on the train and I'm listening to the wildest, loudest conversation on the planet Earth. Not only is the subject matter something that is like, let's not just be slinging that around. And listen, I am a certified AAA stamp purveyor of filth. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not liable to say something at any moment that could end this whole entire shit. We understand that. I'm just saying it's a time and place. Or just a lack of care for other people.
Yes.
But I also think that, right?
You see that love making thing, kissing up, you can either swing to get and keep them in the back.
Yeah.
Take that somewhere, somebody want to see that. People tired and you don't want to see that.
You know, we don't want to accidentally engage in fiend behavior.
You know what? not to cut you,
Of course.
like retain your thoughts, but I feel like something that's kind of a lost art in this generation is consideration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Consideration it seems so simple,
Yeah.
but it's such a huge thing because if you don't consider your neighbor, then what kind of person
The
are
lack
you?
of respect now.
Exactly.
And the Bible speak about lawlessness. We are in the generation of lawlessness.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
No one cares.
You know, when I was growing up and I see certain individuals who's my mother friend.
Respect. Just
Man, if you talking to a boy and you see them, whether it's something in it or not, you gone.
Exactly.
And some of them so fast, they come in to say they see you talking to Miss Angela's son. This generation lost. This is the lost generation.
But I don't understand why. I don't understand what was the breakdown. Like, alright, I'm kinda young.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest here, but I know people that are older than me that will say, "Oh, I'm just not learning this." And I say, "How are you 26 and you don't know how to do this?" Like, I was doing this when I was 12.
Yeah.
I guess it's because the kind of parent, the household, because
we
my
had
mother...
we had no choice. We had to man up and
Exactly.
girl up and woman up.
Yes.
And your mother making babies long time, that is your responsibility, you know, when she had to do anything. Since you're 5 years old, they put in a baby on your lap with the bottle and show to hold it.
I guess that's leading into the next conversation I wanted to have, where there, you know, the similarities and differences between just American culture and like growing up Caribbean, like in the Caribbean culture.
And also, I do want to say this. I think that there's also an argument to be made that what kind of is missing, but that I think has kind of been a trend for a long time. And I'm not speaking on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like is specifically in a lot of the Western world, in America specifically, there's this prevailing theme of like individualism, like the concept of the individual and individual first kind of mentality that I just think we kind of see rear its ugly head. And I think that and I feel like the farther we go, right, the more that we stray away from the convention, right, and everything that the last generation believed is kind of like, as we progress, becomes like more of a conservative mindset. And I think that happens like with every generation, but I think that the spirit of individualism and just not community that has kind of pervaded American culture for so long ends up being the biggest breakdown. But yeah, a lot of the time people interact with me and they go, "You're so polite," and I go like, "Am I polite or am I just like a first generation West Indian?" Right? Where it's just right, like I'm the first generation American, but like was raised West Indian, so it's like, is this polite? This was like the bare minimum, like. Please and thank you.
We don't play that.
Yeah, and just to add to your point, wait, remind me what this a while ago, because at that point I come to my mind.
Oh yeah, I was saying how like kind of with every generation we just kind of get like further down the progressive where what we believe is kind of considered conservative, where it wasn't necessarily that.
So I feel like in today's generation, what they're doing is selling selflessness. So what they're doing is, it's all about you and how you feel and what you want. So if you go to therapy, for example, they're gonna say, "Oh, what you feel is valid. Don't mind what she says. Whatever you want."
Correct.
Exactly. So that's where a lot of the breakdown comes into. So they're commercializing this so heavily, and it's so
teaching you
normal.
how to be self. Everything is self. Nobody else. So you become so selfish.
Yes.
You don't have no selflessness anymore.
And then they show what's in normal.
No consideration. And they're telling you this is a country, freedom of speech.
Right.
Little children disrespecting elders. Where I come from, we don't know about that.
We don't know about that.
I still can't do that.
I can't do it either.
Because if somebody elder than me getting on, I can't. My mother used to say, if you curse an elderly person, you're bringing a curse up, and so these things stay with us. You will never see your mother cursing nobody.
Exactly. And just to add to what Cousin Kyle said, with the differences and similarities. So I physically cannot not say something like "Good morning, please, thank you," because my mother will just give me one good clap.
One good clap. Elevator full of people and you say "Good morning" in a nice, nobody answer.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
You hold the door for them. They're just walking like you have to.
I will say this.
They're obligated to.
I will say this though, just to play devil's advocate, right? Going through your day to day, right, and just kind of being comfortable with, you know, worrying about yourself and worrying about what you have going on. It's a little bit easier in, quote unquote American culture, or like just living in America, especially in a city like New York City, where we live in a place where nobody gives a shit about anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just subconsciously, like, you can fall into that same pattern, and like it's kind of easy to enter a room and not say anything to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, but that also doesn't mean that necessarily like you're rude or anything, or you don't have a good upbringing.
Well, the baseline for politeness in the northeastern United States,
right? Specifically,
skews very, very far from the baseline in places like, honestly, a lot of what you'll see like in the West Indies is just, you know, America is very good at convincing people that we don't need each other, right? But like it's very good at convincing, like one of the unique things about this country, I feel, is that, and I think that we've seen, like, just throughout history, that like the middle class has always wanted to adopt as many things as they could afford from like the class above them, to try to appear like they're doing better than they're doing. Like, this is not like stuff that's like brand new, but like the complete kind of submission to like capitalist structures and like wealthiness in America is insane. Where it's like, if you are questioning ethically something that's happening, people will be like, well, or if you're questioning the intelligence of a certain thing that was said or a certain move that was made, all of a sudden it's like, well, this person is rich, so they must know something. They must be doing something right.
Something must be wrong with you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Immediately know something's wrong with your mental, your psyche.
Yeah. Or even
it goes together. It's like peanut butter and jelly.
And everybody's an undercover celebrity and an undercover billionaire. Like, everybody thinks they're the next rich people. If you ask how many, if you will be startled, and I think, to know, if you ask a lot of young people what they plan to do with their life, I don't know, but I know I'm gonna be rich. It's just like the worship of money and things and materialistic things. I kind of goes hand in hand with the kind of the individualist spirit. But, you know, these are not things I claim to have all figured out. I think that, especially as you get exposed to certain things and things become normalized and even popularized in the environments you find yourself in, I do think that you have these things that kind of become ingrained within you that you have to fight, right? This is what I think a lot of people are concerned with currently at the moment, right? Kind of where we stand in history. That seems to be like the biggest thing going right now, is like this revolution against kind of
simplicity
and prototypical, what people would consider like prototypical social norms and stuff like that, right? It does seem that this generation seems to be questioning really earnestly what it is to be an individual in the first place.
This generation as a whole, like, no matter like where you're from.
Well, I think certain places have more conservative value systems, period. Like, no matter where you are. But then there are places that have more progressive mindsets.
Traditionally, the South has a very similar upbringing and mindset to the West Indies, where it's like, like, you know, you gotta be polite. That whole Southern hospitality thing, like, you know, treat your neighbor well. You know, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You know, respect your elders, stuff like that. And like in the northeastern region that we live in, I would say that those values mainly came from the Caribbean culture. You know what I mean? Like no matter where you may be from, you know what I'm saying? Like, every Caribbean culture has their own, you know, like, well, not their own, but just every Caribbean culture has their values set on, like, yo, just being a good human being. You know what I mean? Like, and like that's like the basis of it. And that's why I asked, like, the whole generation as a whole, like, no matter where whether it's the West Coast, East Coast, you know, North, South, like, whatever, Middle America, wherever you may be from, like, are they all doomed?
No, I don't even necessarily I don't even necessarily know if I subscribe to the idea of people being doomed. What I do think is that politeness is a language. And I think that it is very jarring when somebody either chooses not to speak that language or doesn't speak that language, because that kind of is kind of like the fabric, right? Like, if you think about what humans are and how we kind of structure society, there's a couple of like fabrics and social contracts that we like structure this whole fucking thing around. And like, niceness is one of them, right? Where it's like in most civil American discourse, like, it is considered to be a boon to you to be nice. You should be a nicer person, right?
Like, some level of cordialness.
Yeah, like, right? Like, these are, so when you're breaking these social norms, like, to an extent, you're absolutely, you know what you're doing, right? Unless you're ignorant of it, you know what you're doing, that will just rub you against the group in general.
And
right?
there's a way to love yourself.
Social lubricants.
There's a way to love yourself and your neighbor.
Yeah.
they're like, it's possible. I like what you said earlier, how there's an agenda on selling selflessness. Like, no, not selflessness, but like selfishness. Like you can be selfless and love yourself at the same time. It's called boundaries. You know what I mean? Like, it's called setting boundaries and sticking by it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go above and beyond for everybody or your neighbor every single time, but like, it's also nice to sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's also a good gesture to show your neighbor, like, yo, like, I thought about, I know that you like this way, or, you know, I keep my side of the fence proper because, you know what I mean? Like, it may affect your day or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, both can be beneficial. Yeah. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are not really seeing that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think it's a one or the other type of vibe that people are getting. Like, I can only love my neighbor and not myself, or I can only love myself and not my neighbor. Like, it's never like a good balance of the two.
That's how America's standard is.
Right.
Because if you hear something going on by your neighbor, you're scared to call the cops because you figure they're going to say
it was you.
Because you remember every time you make a phone call, your number short.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I remember my neighbor had a confrontation and she sent the little girl up here to make a call. The cops come here instead of going there.
Mm-hmm.
And when they ring the bell and I say, no, it's not here, I don't have any problem. It's a little girl from below. They didn't believe in that. They were still forcing to walk in the house.
Yeah.
I say it's not here. It don't have anybody here but me. But they will still insist to come in my door when the crime taking place downstairs
and they missing out. They missing out on the entire altercation.
Yeah, that's crazy.
America is just a weird place. So people now just say, let me stay out of this.
Right. Right.
And the first thing is, and whether you is a neighbor and you call or you ain't call, and the cops show up and they say they get a call, the first thing that is run on is the neighbor calling.
Right.
Sometimes you ain't even know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, but then and then I think we also are living a different experience, being that like we're black, right? So it's like your relationship to certain arms of government is just is
and the
not
color of
where
a
other
man's
people's
skin
are.
should not describe his humanity.
It should not, but it does.
But you always think every black person they have some type of level of crime they could commit or that life shouldn't be like that. Because if we go to judge them by the color of the eye, well, how they go feel?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And everybody thinks, oh, when a man have a blue eye, he's this and that is a genes. It's just a genetic genes.
Yeah.
It's a black
Or
people
contacts.
born with blue eyes.
Yeah.
And they figure every blue eyed person and whites, they like God. No.
Yeah.
Some of them people,
and also, race is a fallacy. It's not a real thing in the way that we're kind of taught it, right? And there's all types of pseudoscience that has been produced to kind of warp what people's idea of like lesser peoples are, right? But then you go back to certain times in history, and this is what people don't like to talk about. Because I think ignorance is really a strong. Because if you go back to certain times in history, you will see blue-eyed and blonde slaves enslaved by other Europeans. I'm not even talking about like race slavery.
Down
like
in Africa with blue eyes.
Yeah, but
and you know how they consider them in Africa like devils. You see how every culture
see that work?
is different. Now, if you living in Africa and you make an albino child, it could dead because they consider them demons and evil and they could kill your child.
And not knowing the science behind why they came out like that.
That's pure ignorance.
Right.
The world is not in a good place, but we're living in the time that all these things have to take place.
But
if we know the true biblical way of life, nothing
but
not surprised.
I still believe, because we live in a society where we are more advanced. We are as a whole, we are more knowledgeable, we are more advanced, we know more.
Of course.
Right?
I think we're getting a lot right. I think we're getting a lot right.
Yeah, but like we still have we still have that percentage of people or group of people who blatantly choose to ignore what's like the real, like what's really happening in real time going on in front of us. And there's evidence to back up why it's happening, and you know what I mean. And they're just like, well, no, like I believe in such and such, and there may have been like an old like belief of that's been completely wrong, that's super ignorant, and they're like, well, no, like that's just kind of what I grew up off of, and I believe it. So that's just what it is.
That's some of the hardest things to overcome.
What taking place in the world, because you see, Israel's out the war now. This is written.
Yes, it is.
And he told you, when Israel and them start to fight, look out. Because there's a lot of things going to happen. Because when a lot of people just get tired and say, God said he loved Israel after his own heart. That doesn't mean every Israeli person he loved, because you have to do the right thing and stand with God. You can't be killing and doing things, and that's not what he means.
But in their mind, they're killing in the name of him. All of them
believe in their mind.
You know what I mean? They're killing for a good reason. Like, it's a good cause. Like, something good will come of it.
You
can't be just killing and doing things and say, well, God love you and that.
Right.
He said he loved Israel, you know. He didn't say he loved Israeli humans. He said he loved
the land.
Israel is a land. Yeah. Israel is a holy land.
I feel like, the idea of all that stuff is where it becomes really, really difficult, because there's so many kind of socio-political mechanizations at work there. It becomes especially like with the whole Israel situation and everything like that. But it's really rough to me, because I think we live in an age where social media especially drives us into these echo chambers and really groupthink on a level that it becomes really hard, I think, to kind of decipher what is words standing for and what different things mean, and to say certain things, everything that you think and right. And this is a line that I walk finely, because I do believe that there's a certain threshold of tolerance and progressivism and understanding that I think society advocates for, and I think the proof is in the pudding there. But then there do become there's this weird middle ground where we do exist kind of in a world where the marketplace of ideas and kind of the scientific level of reasoning we've come to has led us to a place where we have to combat. We can't necessarily run from negativity or ideas that we have to kind of combat them, but it becomes very difficult when society seems to have been geared in certain ways. Like, you can't have a conversation about these things from an objective, rational standpoint.
No.
And I wouldn't argue that most people are even capable of doing so.
No.
But it becomes really socially dangerous to have. And this is something I'm saying with respect to the fact that some things are socially dangerous. Some things are socially dangerous. There are certain things that we can't allow, like certain fascist ideology, in my opinion, from my ethos, from what I believe about society and my philosophies. Like, I don't think that we can get to a point where things are kind of authoritarian. Right. So it becomes like even something that's considered good, we have to be mindful that these things don't kind of become machines that rule us.
That's why, you see, you have to have your own wisdom, your own knowledge, and your own understanding about things. Because, you see, what people didn't realize, you see, social media
is dangerous.
He is working through the airways.
I agree 100%.
Because all his strategy he tried, some of it work and some. So you see, I would take them by the airways. And you see what's going on?
Like, for example, I can
killing going on through social media, fighting this, that, and now.
And it's all about what you consume as well. So me personally, I'm very mindful. So the other day, I decided that I'm gonna cut off social media. I'm gonna delete
Give
them all
and
detox. And I believe you me, the moment I reinstalled them and went back, it's like physically, I felt dirty.
Yes. And the cell phone, people can't live it out. You see the cell phone thing? I don't understand it. I can't. If I leave at this house here now and you trying to get me. I have a phone with me. I don't have time for that. It's in my bag. Yeah. If I reach my destination and I feel to check to see, but all people walking with their head down, walking into you, walking into cars.
Literally.
When you take the train here, everybody like this.
Everybody.
All young.
Everybody's neck is broken.
If a gunman come in, everybody would die. Nobody could try to save nothing because they're like this. It takes the airwave. A mother now, her way of parenting, if she don't want to be disturbed, she give the child an iPad or she give it a phone. Little babies crying for phone. So this is the things that they don't know before they even start walking.
Well, the biggest problem too, I think, is these things play upon advertising in general. Like for a very long time has kind of preyed upon kind of the central nuggets in the human brain that like affect how we feel about things, and pleasure centers and things like that, and what we associate things with. And the internet and social media has become a really, really bad situation where on one level social media does like beautiful things, right? It opens up certain demographics of people that have certain conversations that simply don't have a lot of physical safe spaces to have in the world today or historically. But at the same time, it seems that yes, the algorithm and everything, all that stuff plays on kind of the worst elements of human emotion and what even in down to like the kind of feeling of a dope hit you get from like having positive interactions on social media and stuff like that, and the game kind of behind it. Like
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now you got a shot at dopamine because they post something and they get a couple likes.
Yep.
And then when you post a next thing and it don't get no like engagement, all of a sudden your self-worth is now in question. Your entire being self-worth is now in question.
I work for people with money. I work in all kind of homes. The job I does. Let me tell you how disciplined these people is. You see at the dinner table, nobody goes with a phone. There's a little basket or somewhere there and where they rest to eat. We are people of color. I watching these people, from a long time, You have a 10-year and an 11-year-old child have a password and the things. Who you is to have pass? What do you need to? And I paying for that, and I can't get in your phone, and I can't get in your laptop, and this is where we lose control of this generation. There is no discipline, nothing. They're sleeping with the phone, they're going in each other with the phone, they're doing everything. See that phone you see in the night, and I ready to see. I just turned down that.
I mean, I think that's also blatant negligence by
the parents.
By the guardians, the parents,
children now, the children acting like parents.
Yeah, because all of these devices we speak of, they can come with parental locks. You know what I mean? Yes. Like even when you go to the store and you let the person know you're buying it for your child, they'll let you know like, oh, do you want like us to show you how to do the how to lock it down and like how to check what they're doing and blah blah blah. Like
Apple have an app inside of the phone where you could be talking to somebody sexual and all kind of thing. It's an invisible app, only you know it hide. So your wife can't see it, your mother and father them can't see what you're doing. Now, these people just saying down and thinking how to destroy everybody,
Right.
Well, also what's tough with that too though is with technology specifically and all those things, there is a very, very, very important level of security and a thought towards security and what it is for free communication to exist on those things and for expectations of privacy. But I do think I definitely agree with what you're saying as far as like people should have the password to your really, really young child's devices and stuff like that. But as these devices become more and more personal things, you reach that strange. There is an age where you try to nurture kind of a privacy within your child, right? Like you do want your child to have some expectation of having
but that's when
privacy.
You reach 18, not before that.
And
anytime you see a husband and a wife have a password on the phone, they're not good.
Yeah, whoa,
something wrong with that. Because if you can,
we don't listen. Hey, hold on.
In a phone. What is you hiding?
This is not.
What is it?
You alright?
Because if I have a husband, I could give him the password. Look, I just sit down and tell Malik the password.
Yeah, but
Madison, anybody can. I don't have nothing to hide in my phone. I don't have no vulgarity.
But what exactly
I'm not on a dating site.
It's not about.
It's your wife.
It's not about hiding.
No. It's not.
It is about.
Because she's not the only person that you might not want looking through your phone.
Then why can't you know the password?
Okay.
She can
so
look. That's different.
Put a temporary
My
password.
grandma said she couldn't even see having a password.
somebody is going to go in your phone.
You understand what I'm saying?
But when you home in your house with your person, what it is you blocking? What I blocking?
I think you're not the dog. The dog said, nah, they're too low.
Yeah.
Listen, listen.
The whole world corrupt right
Listen,
now.
I just
You
want
see
to.
how
That's
people
funny,
just on for the
man.
cell phone? If them forget
That's
that
funny.
phone, they will break their neck to come back in the house. They will jump out the shower wet if they hear it on the wife or the boyfriend.
Now, see, we can talk about that. Having something to hide, I think, is having something to hide that is a betrayal of your marriage, right? Because I do think, where's the line? We do all have we all have sort of private parts of our personality that we might not want to share with everybody, right? But if you have something that is a betrayal of your union to hide, you live in a different life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, here's what we can talk. Here's where things get interesting. Here's where things get interesting. Would you be comfortable with your wife knowing about, per se, the type of porn you watch?
Why you watching porn?
Exactly.
See, now
Why
hold
you
on.
watching porn?
Ladies.
All right.
Ladies.
Hold on.
May I have a few things more to say.
Hold
I
on.
just want to say.
Unless you're watching porn to practice some loving and
Nah, listen.
you watching porn and it ain't valuing nothing in your marriage because
you might, and this is the problems with porn aside, because there are very real problems with porn as a whole. But those problems aside, what's wrong with having a personal sexual relationship? A relationship to yourself, to your own body.
You're not supposed to have no personal sexual relationship. If it was to be that, God will not say, let us create woman because man is alone. What you going now to tell me you have a personal sexual?
We live in a more progressive. We live in a more progressive society.
This is where we went wrong because we stepping out the biblical law. When God see Adam was lonely, say man should not be
Granny,
alone.
we have to have
He created
we have a separate,
woman. And another thing again they don't understand. He put the man to sleep to make us.
Right.
But
he didn't want
listen,
Oli to know
we
how
have
important
but,
a woman's body
but
is.
we got a separation
In what?
of church and state.
Church?
We talking about that. We are talking about a person's shall we say,
Alone time.
ethical human rights.
It's not
Right.
no human rights when coming to sex.
See,
and you have
this,
a partner.
Grandma.
That means you're perverted and rude.
I think there's
Pinky and all kind of thing, but you didn't let me know that. You see, now when you was getting into me and the relationship, you never sit down to tell me I kinky, I like this, I like that. As a man just watch me porn. I put it there, son, so I know that I can handle that.
Like watch it together.
Give me a choice to walk away from the table, or let me know if I could sit down there because you never know, I might be kinky too. I didn't want to say nothing to you. But since you bring up the subject of kinkiness, let we both enjoy it. What you want to keep for yourself and eyes your mate.
Okay.
I might like porn she don't like.
That's
or
no.
might be something
That's
that
her
he's
problem.
embarrassed of.
Because if I meet you, Biggs, and we talking, and I say I like this kind of food, then I might cook something and say, oh, girl, I really like that too. You didn't bring it to the table.
You can't bring porn to the table
you
with
could.
food.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, you
So
could.
when she go, I really love steamed fish.
No.
You just gonna go, well,
You
I love anal.
No, you want to be open. You want to be open from
can't do
start.
that.
Because then these is the little things that start to bring problem into a relationship.
You cannot.
Because when I meet you, I didn't know you was a batty man.
Now stop.
But
Grandma,
you are hiding
Grandma,
battiness from me.
Whoa, hey,
and then
hold on.
after I had to
Hold on.
find this out.
Grandma.
You understand?
It's 2024. We didn't run this by the advisory board. You can't be saying. There's a lot going on. We are racing to points where I can't follow you, and I don't want to put you out there. I just can't follow you.
This is when we talking real now. This is a generation. Let me tell you something.
There's a level of realness. There's a level of realness.
This is not a podcast for children. This is a podcast for adults. We touch in every area of life.
All right.
Because these people have all kind of privilege here.
Stop. Grandma,
That's true.
I can't
It's
follow
true.
you. I can.
But it's true. They have a lot
I
of privilege
can't-
here, and they have to say, they have to pick and choose what they want to agree with and what they don't want to agree with.
And you can't talk about them, but you can talk about us.
Exactly. Facts.
But see, I would think that we shouldn't talk about anyone. I think that all people who are, I think everybody who's marginalized, I think everybody that's marginalized,
Should
I
talk about
think that
self?
we have far more in common than we have different.
Yeah.
I think that what there is there's an air of xenophobia, and there is an air of kind of demonization of anything that is other, right? That it is, this is, and what we do when we do that is we just create these fucking chasms that you can't really navigate across that kind of separate us as people where we have more in common than we don't. So somebody who's a woman, somebody who's black, somebody who's from the Middle East, anybody who does not display kind of the WASP Anglo-Saxon idea of whiteness, right? When you have like when you have like people from all types of places were once viewed as like less than by the power structure and sold into slavery. Armenians, this, that, Turks, whatever you want to call it, like people who right now have access to what is known as whiteness, who 100, 200, 300 years ago would not have had access to what is perceived as whiteness. The only thing they would have had access to is being higher on the totem pole than a black person. But I think that we gotta. It's hard to navigate these things when we come across them. I think we're standing right now, kind of like on a social prep, like on the threshold where we could go this way or we could go that way. But I think it's difficult because I'm a person who I think leans more progressive in a lot of these ways. But I do see that there's kind of an air where it's kind of on both sides. I think right now internet culture has kind of really eroded the fabric of, and maybe people have always just not been able to handle certain conversations, and we've always been manipulated by higher powers in certain ways.
Always like that.
But it worries me that so much of the conversation on both sides, I think, operates from a place of bad faith. And this is why I'm so selective in the conversations I participate in.
Freedom of speech, but you're still in no freedom of speech as a colored person. Because other people could go on a platform and they tell you this is raw and this is census, but you have a different complexion. Go up there and try to host a show, and you will see how much census and how much this and how much that.
There's a big asterisk next to freedom of speech because, like, especially over the years, just through events that have occurred, that freedom of speech is real limited. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very limited. And like I would say, even on an ethical standpoint, right? So like, you can't just run into a public space and scream a threat.
No. Yeah, right? That's what I was about to say.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, you can't go to the movies and say bomb.
Yeah, you know what I mean? There are checks on freedom of speech.
There's a very limited way, and even on a more personal level, where you have in the society we live in, where there are people who believe that they are who they are, right? And you can't tell them that they're not who they are. And the second you tell them that
it's a problem,
they're not.
I mean, you know what's the?
There are bigger forces that there may be. You know what I mean? Start stepping in, and they'll try to ruin your life, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of character assassinations going on.
I think that there's also levels to it too, though, where we have. I think that as confusing as certain things get, there do become certain points where people like to, when something strays against what they consider their conservative view of the world, they tend to be really hostile to something that's not that wild a request. Right? So, like, say somebody does, because we do know that, like, gender and sex are like two different ideas when we're talking about them.
Right.
And they are connected in many ways. And yes, for the majority of the world, there is a direct tie between gender and sex, between sex and gender identity. But like when somebody for instance, when you tell somebody call you Biggs, they call you Biggs. Right? So if somebody just call me her. You know what I'm saying? If somebody say my name's Samantha, but you look at them and you feel like, well, based on the system and the structure, you're not Samantha. You're you know what I mean? But motherfucker tell you call him Samantha, you call him Samantha.
You do have those people though. You do have those people that will question it anyway, because there's the people that you'll say, oh, my name is Bob. Right? And they'll be like, Bob? You don't look like a Bob, like a black guy named Bob. Like, like that doesn't exist. Like, oh my God, but like it does. I'm standing right here in front of you. You know what I mean? Like even when I tell people, oh, like people call me Biggs, or I'll lead off with, oh, Biggs, nice to meet you, and they'll be like, oh, that can't be your name.
I love you in Shatas.
I wish, right? Nah, but like because that they're like that. I will then egg it on and be like, yeah, that is my name actually. Like my full name is Biggington, but they call me Biggs for short. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'll take it because like,
but
what do you mean?
But now,
like,
say
this is how I introduce myself.
But now, say if we look at society just the way we have it now, right, just what is skewed closer to the social norm. You got a lot of people that can look at you and say, "Don't introduce yourself to me as your nickname."
What? That's crazy.
Call me what your, you know what I'm saying? Tell me what your name is.
Because who are you?
Tell me what your name is.
No. Who are you? Especially if I just met you, that like there's a sense of entitlement that there's some people have where it's like, oh, like I'm not gonna call you that. Your mother didn't name. Well, you don't know my mom. First of all, you don't know her. You know what I mean? Like
now, think about that.
We
logic,
just
though.
met. You know what I'm saying? Like if you told me your name was Queef, all right, Queef, hi, nice to meet you. Yeah. Whatever. Whatever you want to be called. Like
now take that same logic and just apply it to when somebody who in your opinion doesn't look like a Susie is telling you
they're Susie.
The name is Susie.
I'm not that. I wasn't saying that. I was saying
or when they go, please address me as her, she, her.
Listen, you already know I'm a progressive. Man, woman, she, her, they, them, whatever you want to be called. If that's what you want,
you going to.
Whatever. Because it doesn't affect me in no way, shape, or form. It doesn't hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't lose sleep over it. If that's what you want to be called, I know the truth.
Yeah. Well,
I won't discuss it. No.
I just want to take back my.
We won't discuss it.
I know. I just want to take back my because I didn't know where you were going there.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to give you a yeah.
Yeah.
You stand where you are with this.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying this is your opinion. I feel you. No, listen, you're free. I just don't want them
to get twisted. The truth can be anything, though. The truth can be what I interpret
said
to be.
The truth. Right?
Yes.
I just want to say that this is your 100% statement and I'm not involved. I don't know where you're going.
I'm not trying to offend anybody, and I'm not going to elaborate. I'm not going to elaborate either.
Please do.
I'm not going to. No, I won't.
Elaborate on your own, please.
I'm not going to get us canceled. I won't elaborate. But all I'm saying is, I know what is true. I know what is not true.
Wow.
I have eyes. Like I said, we live in a day and age where we are very advanced medically, scientifically. You know what I'm saying? So like at the end of the day, like you want to be called whatever you want to be called, you won't hear an argument from me.
Yeah.
I have no rebuttal. That's what I'm saying.
Well, what do you say?
I have no rebuttal.
What do you say to the idea? And listen,
right?
If you're taking a religious or biblical point of view, then it would differ slightly from what I'm about to say. But to say, what of the idea that to a large extent, right, what is known as gender identity is performative, is a performance, is a meeting of expectations, right? Where it's like how much of what we consider, because this is what happens is that, okay, take away the trans issue or that type of ideology to it. Okay. Take away all that stuff, and we still get into like, okay, then what about women who don't classically present in what we are conditioned to believe is a feminine presentation? What about women who don't have features that we deem to be the beauty standard, or have features that we deem to be masculine? Well, then what about like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, if you dive into that I feel like that has nothing to do with what people think. I think that has more so to do with what the media is
trying to portray.
You know what I mean? Like basically what we look at on a day-to-day basis.
You know I would say the majority of men that you know would have a preference of how, and it usually is cultural, but in this country specifically, have a preference of, if they had it their way in a vacuum, of what feminine presentation should look like.
But I also think that was shaped by opinions that they've seen throughout time. You know what I mean? So like growing up, you might have seen a news article or a magazine cover or enough especially now in today's age where everybody's just like this. You're seeing countless amount of videos and clips of something of an opinion on somebody's body, you know, like skin color, like shape and whatnot. Subconsciously, you can start thinking like, all right, that's perfect.
That is perfect.
So what we starting to understand now is that what I'm saying is there's a certain aspect to gender identity that's performative.
I agree.
And that people will identify more with based on just kind of like what kind of moves them, what they like.
Hence all of the pronouns.
Like, you know what it is like to perform masculinity.
Yeah.
You know what it is to like walk into a room or a place and perform what you have been conditioned to think the women in that room want to see from you.
Right.
I think that women face that pressure to a whole entire another level. God, and a lot of what people like to consider traditional, this and that and the third, like, right, I don't subscribe to a lot of those, but like in those type of elements, like, God forbid you are a woman who doesn't enjoy doing laundry. Right? Or God forbid you are a man who takes into account his partner's feelings on things, right? Like, or God forbid you're a man who's demonstratively emotional, right? Like, I think that sometimes I have some of these same problems. Like, I think, like, I say, for example, like I could even go as far as to say, like, well, like, my biological father, right? Like, when my mother tells me he's excited about something, right? Like, I'd be like, oh, I didn't know, because he's not a demonstrably emotional person, right? So he's the type of person who would just tell you, yo, I'm so excited. But, like, he's not
say it in that monotone.
Yeah, like, you know, like, yo, hey, man, I'm real excited. Like, all right, cool. Yes. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, but you may, like, as a child from a parent, you may, like, want more, like, enthusiasm or maybe, like, right? So,
I think you have to look less at how something is being said or done and just focus mainly on what's being said and what's being done.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Because, like, the telltale signs, the signs are there. You know what I mean? Like, how somebody moves, how somebody speaks. Not how. What they're saying and what they're doing is more important than how they're saying it. You know what I mean? Like, I have a problem where, like, you know, I'm a very expressive person with my face. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may say something that I don't agree with or that might have upset me or whatnot, and this, that, and the third. And, you know, you can see it all over my face, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not gonna just, you know, do something out of spite because I'm angry or like say something to you. You know what I mean? Or like, if I do say how I feel, I may say it in, like, you know, in a way where I'm obviously frustrated. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, listen to the message that I'm conveying to you, not how I'm conveying it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's not how people work.
I know, and I think that's a very big flaw in just humans in general. You know what I mean?
Because is it a flaw or is it just like, is it a feature? Because my thing is it's all situational. Yeah. I would say it's situational because some people do convey, like, the way they convey the message, that's kind of like how they're feeling too. You know what I mean? So, like, I would say it's all situational, but with, you know, somebody like that's like me, because I can only speak for myself. Yeah. But people like me and myself, like, it's mainly what I'm saying to you. You know what I mean? Like, forget how I'm saying it. You know what I mean? Like, but I go that same reason to another.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, I try to live what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
So if you are in a, because I'll say this, right? There's a quote that I read recently that I forget who said it, but I'm just saying it's a quote. Somebody look it up. Somebody said, and it's not to say they're right, but they said human beings are not thinking machines. They're not feeling machines. They're feeling machines that think. Right? And so, like, it becomes like, yes, we have the ability to be extremely rational with everything that we hear. I don't think most of our defaults is that. Where it's like, say you were in a situation out and about which warranted some measure of correction, but the person correcting you say, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you fucking stupid?"
But that's
the fuck are you doing?
That's blatantly.
But what if you were doing something? What if he was really correcting you though? What if you were doing something that was wrong?
But there's a way to say that.
All right, that's how people work. I'm saying.
But that was my you in a way you're proving my point. I wouldn't tell somebody that I'm trying to correct, "Are you fucking stupid?" You know what I'm saying? If I'm trying to correct
you know there are people
out there, but that's a character flaw in that person.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You have to know how to speak to somebody. You can say something in a correct way, but the way you said it can still rub them wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can say, "Yo, bro, you doing that wrong right now. I ain't gonna lie. Like, this is how you're supposed to do it." And you could still take offense to that. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like, instead of me saying, "Yo, bro, are you a fucking idiot? What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like, no, you're not supposed to do it like that. You're supposed to do it like this, that, and the third.
Now, as the person offering the correction, knowing that, how much more responsible are you to try to deliver what you're trying to deliver in the way that is the most respectful of the person in front of you?
Well, again, situational. So if you're saying something if you're trying to correct somebody, especially if it's the first correction, second correction, you know what I mean? Even third, because, you know, some people learn a little slower than others. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you're a vet at, you know, a law firm that you work at, and you have a new person that comes in. You might have to tell that person how to do a certain task 2 or 3 times, especially if it's the first day. You know what I mean? Like, now, whether you're a patient person or not, you know what I mean? Who knows how that message may come out? You know what I mean? But let's say you are pretty good at, like, you know, teaching, and you're pretty patient. You're not the most patient, but, you know, that first day, you should know, like, you yourself should take into account, like, yo, this person has never done this before. Yeah. This is their first day. Let me, you know what I mean? Let me be constructive. Even if I'm not a, like, super nice person, I'm going to still do what I have to do and say, and try to correct this person in a manner where, like, it, you know, it fits. Like, yeah, like, I'm not being super soft on them, but I'm saying it very clear and concise. Like, yo, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. Instead of just attacking them in a sense and calling them out of their name, like saying somebody's stupid and idiot. Like, now you're attacking them verbally.
There is more.
You know what I mean?
There is more room for that than you might think in kind of the corporate business type level situations people find themselves in. There's more room for that than you might think. It happens more often than you might think.
I think
it's a top down thing.
I would say that's because of the, you know, the power struggle.
But there's an old,
I mean, like, it's a power thing.
This is kind of like the older culture of, like, I think America, and that's what I think a lot of people kind of find themselves on the other side of, is that, like, there is this idea that, like, you just eat shit. Like, yeah, like the person, like, yeah, like the boss person gives a lot of shit. The person right under him eats a lot of shit. The person right under him eats a little bit more shit. The person under him eats a little bit more shit.
Down. Yeah, yeah.
Everybody's getting treated like garbage. Right. Like you've worked places and, like, okay, the district manager just came in and tore the store manager's a new one, and so
now the store manager,
so they tore the assistant manager's new ones, and now the assistant manager
is giving everybody on the bottom.
This is your homegirl. Yeah. Y'all are cool. Y'all go out for drinks and hang out. She has no problem telling you anything, right? Or just, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Now all of a sudden, shut the fuck up. Y'all are fucking up. Like,
nah, hold on. But no. But you see, even then, I still can't say that's everybody, because even in those spaces, right, you have people who might be at the assistant manager level, you know what I mean, or even a supervisor level.
Yeah,
they know the personnel. You know, they know who's busting their ass. They know who's who's giving up, you know, a certain part of their life to make sure that, you know, this whole thing is running. You know what I mean? So, like, even in that situation where they get chewed out, they may be frustrated, and their tone is a little bit more stern and a little bit more cold, but they still wouldn't step out of pocket and be like, get the fuck out of my face. You know what I mean? Like, shut the fuck up. This, then, because I still feel like that right there is a character flaw. You know what I mean? That in itself is like something that you yourself, you kind of have to do some soul searching.
I think that in America
and understand, like, yo, there's still a way to talk to people, even within frustration.
I don't think in America you have to make that compromise the more money you have.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's why I said it's a power thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all a power thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know that this company needs me. You know what I mean? I know what my value is to this company. You know what I'm saying? And no matter what I do or say, well, and let me not say no matter, because there are certain things you can't do or say. Yeah. But, like, for the most part, no matter what I do or say, you know what I mean? Like, I can make it happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is, I think that's me. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that's pretty much what I'm saying.
Or even with the social expectations, I think of. Yeah, even with the social expectations, I think of, like, having money and, like, what that means is, like, I think that there's a certain, especially in the older culture of, like, older money and older wealth, especially in New York City, like, there's a certain level of, like, I'm important. I'm on your ass. Don't fuck this up.
And right? It comes like, of entitlement too.
Yeah, and see, it's hard to tell these people that they're not entitled when, in actuality, and oftentimes the way society is broken down, they are. Right? Yeah. This is the minimum level of expectations that they've set and that they will tolerate. And guess what? The person above them rode their ass, and they're gonna ride the person right beneath them, and them, and them, and them, and them. And it's just like, it's kind of this unspoken thing that this is how this is how these things run. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of counterculture in like the last like 40 to 50 years has kind of been like in response to the condition of the average person, right? I do think that I ask questions as I age. I ask questions about institutions, and I ask questions about capitalism and what it means to be a capitalist versus what it means to be an anti-capitalist and all these other things, and to try to make sense of the fucking world that we live in and the situations that we find ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is a real level of impunity that comes with wealth.
Right.
And I do think that we have some questions to ask ourselves about what wealth is on its face, because wealth automatically denotes the absence of it, right? You can't have wealth if there's not like some other extreme, right? So, like I said, I think the rules are very, very malleable. I think that the especially when it comes to social norms and social customs, like
well, personally, I think wealth is subjective. I believe I'm wealthy, but wealthy in terms of what? I might not be. Well, I'm certainly not rich in any form monetarily, but my both legs work, my organs work perfectly. I'm able to walk from one point to the next point. I know billionaires right now that are in a wheelchair, and no amount, the amount of money that they have in their bank account, no amount of money that they have accumulated over the years of whatever they've done to get it, they still can't pay to be a normal functioning human being, and that's what they want.
Now here's okay. So that's what I would say is an interesting question. Do you think somebody would pass up being like a multi-billionaire? Somebody who was a multi-billionaire and didn't have the use of their then doesn't have the use of their legs. Do you think they would be willing to give that up for the ability to walk again?
I can't speak for that person, but I can speak for me. So I know someone's gonna say, "Oh, well, you're not rich, so obviously you can't speak for that." But yes, I can, and I'm going to say, someone can come to me right now and say, "Hey, Gabs, I'm gonna give you $10 million, but here are one. Let's just lose your legs." Hell no! What do you mean?
Lose the ability of walking.
Exactly. That's a blessing in of itself, because I play sports, right? I play tennis, and I fractured my toe the other day. I'm gonna tell you, it was a task to just move around with a fractured toe. Imagine not having both my legs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I know there are so many people that would literally die to just have the normal ability to do the basic, most mundane thing of just walk.
But vice versa.
Yeah.
You have your
a lot of people in our situation who would give up their legs.
They will
give up their legs.
Yeah.
In a heart,
because it's not even just about you, right? You could do a lot for a lot of people that you personally care about, and that's not to say that it's right or it's wrong, but I do think that those are the questions that we ask ourselves in society right now. And like, I will not lie, if we just took a very rote observational thing, your legs will never be worth $15 billion.
You know the thing that
you know what I'm saying? If you're not Usain Bolt, your legs will never make you billions of dollars. You get what I'm saying?
I think that's subjective too.
They're not worth that on the market, which is why, like, again, I have my problems with capitalism too. But when it becomes like,
I disagree.
Something other than your leg, because now we're talking about values that go beyond capitalist values, right? Values that go beyond like money.
Because alright, here I disagree, because that feels like this one thing. If I say to you, Miles, I'm gonna give you $1 million, but you're gonna die tomorrow.
Well, yes, because I think that's where
there's no value.
That's where you boil it down, where it's like, for one more day on Earth, or for another 5 years on Earth, or for whatever the case may be. Yes, when it comes to straight up rote the value of life, because I think that for a lot of people, their ability to enjoy money and they're tired that they have the money, or like it's kind of like hedonistic and like, what can I do with it right now? What can I live to feel, right? But I do think that if we opened it up to like the use of your legs, I think that there's a good amount of people who might trade the use of their legs to be a multi-billionaire.
And I think those people don't understand the value of their legs, because I personally believe that they are invaluable. Yeah. There's no value on my legs. I know that for a fact.
And that's what I think is normal. That's what I think your average human being would feel, right? Because,
you know what? I feel like I don't even blame people that much, because I think we live in an age now where it's like not that originality, and there's such a need and a demand to create and curate a certain form of identity. So they're gonna take that money and they think it's gonna make them whole, but then check them back in about next 2 weeks.
Or even think with like Instagram and the pressure that a lot of what we see in like video vixen culture and how it's evolved, the pressure that we see it putting on young women, we are seeing young women quite honestly risk their lives and go through tremendously painful recovery situations to have like thicker thighs and asses. Right? Like this is like
is that living out in Jamaica, Gabby? Is that like a thing that's occurring?
Yeah, and it's weird to me. It's
are a lot of them like going out and they getting their body done?
Yeah, and I think it's an influence from here to there.
Right.
So because it's so normal here, it's translating there.
Right.
Because I know, like I actually know, and it's crazy to me that I can say I know somebody. Like, it's getting so normal because I'm obviously not famous or anything. So, for me to say I know somebody that are getting, mind you, we're all black and we naturally have big lips.
Big lips.
Yes.
So, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I was beyond myself.
I'm not going to lie, that rubs me the wrong way whenever I hear one of my black female friends tell me they're about to go get lip fillers. Like, I try not to be judgmental in the moment, you know what I mean? Because it's like, yo, you can do whatever you want to do, and if you feel like you need this, then whatever. But like,
do you?
There's a side of me that also looks at them and also tells them, like, genuinely tells them, like,
Bigs would have filled their lips up for free.
That's crazy. No, that's not what I tell them. I tell them that, like, you do know your lips are actually like full right now.
Because I've been looking at them.
Yes.
Well, I can see
I've been looking at them.
If I'm
perhaps I never told you.
All right, no applause. Get out of here.
I want to subscribe to your ASMR channel.
But I don't know, man. And then like even the ones that already have full lips and they get them more bigger, like it doesn't look right.
I don't understand what
it doesn't look right to me.
I don't understand.
Because if you're going to do something on your butt, make it look natural.
Yeah.
Why you make it like a horse?
Right.
And extreme. That's not sexy. That don't look
It
good.
doesn't look right.
And a lot of men complaining about this thing they're doing. They're complaining about the smell.
Right.
So you going to just get your whole body a different order just to say you have a big butt?
Yeah. There's real currency for women to fit kind of the extremes of the paradigm that are established for them in society right now.
And look how much
and that's where the line is on Pluto
right now.
That's where all our personal moral ethics, and this is what it is to be human and to exist with other humans, right? This is where all our own personal ethics come into conversation, because that is the question. Where is the line, right?
No, but I think it comes back to the first thing we mentioned, the social media thing. I think
social media
it's a very heavy influence.
Oh, social media has been terrible for people's like self-image and positive identity as far as their body's concerned and shit like that. Like, terrible. Right? It's like a supernova version of like what we saw with like the top model and like magazine industry and shit like that, and what that did and how that rotted young women's brains. Like social media is that like on 1,000 for everybody, for young men, for young women, for poor people, for middle class people, for everybody. Whatever the fuck that you have convinced yourself that you are missing out on, social media will fucking verify that you are missing out on it. It will convince you of that.
So viral trends and content normally like frequently encourage acceptance. The fact whenever you go viral, that's when you feel like accepted.
And if you ain't get 1 million likes and you ain't get this and that, you start to feel like you're not wanted.
You're not worth it.
And that is the currency that you just mentioned too.
Yeah.
That is the currency. Like, you feel good within yourself knowing that, I did this work and now they're gonna accept me. That is the current. That's the exchange.
And you can make money. Think about how many people are making money on social media just because they kind of like fit in a niche in the algorithm that just hacks people's brains.
Where it's like, they say if they get an elephant that worth $500 and
you can make a shit ton of money just kind of stumbling in the hacking parts of people's brains when it comes to, because that's what social media to an extent it becomes this huge grand test in social engineering, and then just like what motivates people, and it makes people uncomfortable because we see that like in this larger scale we are very similar, like a hamster on a wheel or a fucking like lab rat, where it's like, oh no, you have different parts, and you have different parts of your brain that we can stimulate and everything like that, and we will see you like a moth to a flame, like start to gravitate towards the stuff that kind of hit that animal part of your brain. So just to say, like, when I tell people all the time, like, we need to look at, like, the war on, like, quote unquote, the war on, but, like, we need to look at, like, trying to combat, like, health and, like, foods and shit like that. I think we should look at it very similar to what we look at, like, a drug problem, where it's like a lot of, like, snacks, all that other shit. Like, a lot of that is just hacking. You're right. It's like hacking certain parts of your brain that, like, will draw you to behavior that is
the
addictive.
The whole aspect of going viral. Yeah. The fact that it can set off a dopamine hit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I don't know. They did do studies. I don't know if it's 100% dopamine. I think they've identified it as something else, but, like, it is what we're describing. Right. I don't know if how specifically connected the chemical dopamine is still, like, known to be as, but, like, definitely.
I'm willing, without seeing the scientific evidence, I'm willing to bet money that it is because like it's the way people are behaving. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because
like the fact that it can affect you so much.
Understand dopamine is something that make you always want.
Right.
If we don't have no dopamine,
the high you want to get back.
Some people are sex high drive because dopamine.
Right.
It come like crack.
Right.
Your dopamine is just do everything for you.
Because I truly believe that if it didn't set that off,
adrenaline rush for them to get this.
I believe that if it didn't set that off, social media wouldn't be as big.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like social media would probably mainly be a marketing tool. Stuff for businesses.
I mean,
it's still mainly like it's still mainly is that, but I'm talking about just from a human aspect. You know what I mean? Like the things that people put on social media. Yeah. In regards to their own personal lives. You know what I mean? Not even to sell a product or to promote something. You know what I mean?
All these things. Right. And if you having a conversation, you have to be careful what you're saying, but they're going out there. Right. I just read something, I just say these people crazy.
Interesting point you made, because it's interesting that even older people, parents, that it's mind-boggling to me. Even them are trying to go viral at the expense of their kids. Right. You'll see a mom scolding their child and they're videoing this.
Holding the phone.
Yeah. What did you expect to come of that?
My mother would never.
If not viral.
My mother would never. Yes. My mother's never holding the phone and the belt at the same time. She's never doing that. She's never done that. She never will do that.
Do you know what they have to do? Yeah. Look, this thing just happened in Jamaica. A 10-year and a 12-year-old boy, his mother stumbled up and he doing the wrong.
Oh no.
And that woman put that thing and exposed that little boy.
Oh no.
A mother.
What did you expect to come from? That is my question.
Damn. Why?
Damn, she recorded that?
Where we get this? She found it in the sponge. Where we get this from?
The mindset, where did it come from? I'm
talking
about
parent,
older
you're
people.
Supposed to hide your children's fault.
Right.
You cannot go out there
especially in Jamaica. You put that kid's life and his life in jeopardy.
And it's not only your son exposed.
That's not America.
Somebody else child who don't even aware.
But certain things don't play like that in.
They don't do.
Exactly.
They need to ban on social media because people start to lose their mind.
I think because of how much money is generating, that's not going to happen.
They're going on social media and killing. I watched this live with this man have his woman and cheating, and the outside woman put up she and him on social media, and the woman get to see. He went to her house, he killed her right on live.
Sheesh.
Yes. She on the computer and he tells she why you do put that and take it down. He shoot you right and she get right there and like. You wasn't seeing his face. She's sitting. Shoot you right in your head. Everything is social media now.
But there's stupid money in social media. That's why certain things will always happen.
How they making money? Whether it is getting who paying them?
You generate a lot of eyes. So like, one way is like bigger companies like, and also it's just like the way that the algorithm works and the way that they show you things is like they just kind of have it's not magic. It's like an understanding that advertising in general, the science of advertising has always kind of been moved to. It's just that because we're all on social media and it has this unique ability to kind of
other companies will pay
funnel us in other places.
Money on social media from cussing other people. That is what I want to know.
No. That's the human aspect we were discussing.
And
social media is a big thing because of all of the advertising and the money that it can bring.
Because I work for influencer in Florida, and she's make a lot of money from, but she advertise for people.
And this is how, this is why some of the social media companies will condense it and actually just pay you for the monetary value that you kind of bring to the platform.
That is Farmer's Dog Food Wife I work for. And she does the woman filthy from social media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she husband has have all the advertisement going on to the farmers dog.
Yeah.
But she filthy from
Oh, you
social
talking about that the new dog food that come in the bag? It's like the more healthier option
Yes,
for your
I
dog.
know for them for-
Okay, yeah.
2 babies.
Yeah, shout out to Farmers Dog Food.
Yeah.
Sponsor.
Brent is the name.
It's not happening.
Farmers Dog Food, we love you. I feed my dog that all the time.
No, hold on now.
Yeah.
Make them take you to dinner first.
I'm just saying.
Let's not give them all that.
I'm just saying.
Gee, what's left?
Just in case.
What's left?
Just in case.
Hey.
I want them to know
Yeah,
that
I like
Farmers Dog
I'm
Food.
saying with the way you carrying on, why buy the cow?
You're right. Let me chill.
Fridge full of milk.
You're right.
Shit.
Let me chill.
Can we pretend to hold out like we're not whores? Can we? Damn.
I'm just saying.
They know why pay us now.
I'm just saying.
You already said it's the only thing for your dog.
I mean, you
God
know.
damn.
I mean,
They got us.
farmers.
And
Farmers.
I mean, shit. Hey, man.
Only dog don't eat farmers.
No, absolutely not. Not
Not
until I
yet.
see a check.
Not yet.
Not until I see a check. What are you? I'm gonna tell y'all what she eats. She eating though. You know what I mean? You'll never know.
She's
Not yet.
healthy.
But yeah, definitely healthier than me. But question, matter of fact, what are your thoughts on that? Right? Like, what are your thoughts on people advertising things that they're not even that fond of?
Oh man.
That's money driven. That's just money driven.
I'll say this, right?
What do you think the ethics of it?
No. Yeah. So I'll say this. You at the very least do your due diligence on what the product is, right? So like, even if you don't yourself consume said product, you know what I mean? At least find out what it does, you know what I mean? And if there are any negative effects on, you know, on like it, or if there could be a negative effect on somebody that you possibly care about, you know what I mean? So like, if you know that like you promoting an item can like affect your little cousins or little nieces and nephews and whatnot, maybe you shouldn't endorse them, even if you don't partake in using that product or not. You know what I mean?
Now,
but like, if you don't use said product, but that product is still beneficial to people, then I don't see a problem with it.
Now, what I say though is like, see now, where are the lines? Because when we get to the extreme, it's always easy to be like, well, no, that's fucked up. Don't do that, or that's great, whatever. Like, but now let's say something as innocuous as perhaps you are cut a deal for like a good amount of money to advertise this brand of like sweet cakes, and you hate the only flavor they got.
Right.
But you know they doing good. They willing to pay you a good amount of money.
And it's just
to
a
help bring
snack?
out traffic. But it requires you to say, I love these. Eat them all the time.
Oh yeah, I'm lying.
So then what?
If that price tag looking right,
And that's where it becomes, right?
if that price tag looking right, I'm lying.
It's like a
you're-
regular job. Though.
Yeah.
You go to your job,
Right.
regardless if you hate it.
I don't like doing it.
I love my job.
I love it.
But when you're
Oh my
but
God,
when
yeah.
you're selling something to
Right.
people, there's a certain level of nefariousness where it comes like you are trying to convince somebody of something that is not true
For
in
the
order
right
to,
price,
But
I'll be
they
very
might love
in order to
convincing.
benefit
But
yourself.
they might love it though.
So
That person might like
Now-
those cakes.
Now, how can we feel that way and criticize some of the messaging that we're receiving? Do you see the thin line there when it
Yeah.
becomes like if it's okay for you to pretend that you like something you don't like, which I'm not saying it's not.
Right.
These are just what I think are like interesting ethical conversations to have. These are the questions and conversations that will, for every one of us, start to define where our line is and who we are. Right?
Well, for me personally, man, when I think of ethics and I think of selling a product, like I said, it all comes down to if there are any negative effects on the people that consume, right?
Okay.
Whether that may be physically, emotionally, mentally, or everything under the sun. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have my name behind something.
For conscience.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't want to have my name behind something that's hurting people. You know what I mean?
Something that tastes like shit is okay.
But look, something can taste like shit to
Yeah,
me,
but yeah.
and somebody else might actually like it.
But
You know what I mean? So
it
like
tastes
that's
like
all
shit,
subjective.
if you think it tastes like shit and you take money to say it tastes great,
Listen, if they paying me $1 million to tell me to say that the cake tastes amazing, that cake tastes heavenly.
What does that say about you ethically? That's all I'm asking.
I mean, ethically, that might say that, yo, listen, I can be bought for this.
That's what
I
I'm
can
saying.
be bought for this.
What can you call that?
But if those cakes were leading to like some type of poisoning or something like that, or like or the consumption of this cake more than once per day can lead to severe, like, you know, diabetes, or, you know what I mean? Like, no, of course I'm not gonna sell that. I don't care how much money you throw at me. You know what I mean? Because now we have to take into account people's safety. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but what does it mean that?
Because there are people that do that. There are people that back products or companies that do extreme harm to the human race. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's not okay.
I do even better. Like right now, we all have smartphones, stuff like that. We all benefit from a lot of things and consumer habits that directly involve the exploitation of people around the world. And again, like, you can draw parallels. Like, if you think about it, and like the settling in the New World and Europe's sudden demand for like coffee and chocolate and sugar and cotton grown in Georgia and tobacco grown in Virginia and stuff like that. Like, all of a sudden, like, if we become slaves to money, right, things like the transatlantic slave trade and stuff like that starts to make like a lot of sense, right? Because that's what happens when there's no line, right? When there's no boundary in an exploitative system. So my question would then be is like, that's an interesting thing. Is like, where do we all draw the line, right? Because
I mean,
if somebody can pay you to say something you don't believe, that you know will convince a bunch of people to act in a certain way,
right?
Where does that put us morally? Because don't we, as people who have to navigate and consume a lot of this stuff, don't we feel like it's
Because I mean, I would say morally,
when we see people trying to take advantage of certain parts of our personalities.
I would say morally, you as the person should be able to identify that yes, slavery is wrong.
And that's
selling tobacco products, like all of these tobacco, and me, you know this, all these tobacco companies growing up, they've not blatantly, but like kind of blatantly, like subliminally, blatantly been advertising products to children. You know what I mean? Like
everything.
I wouldn't be able to put my face on that. You know what I mean? Like if I'm a public figure like Jay-Z or whoever, you know what I mean? Like, and they came to me with a big check and they're like, "Yo, we want you to promote our new cigarettes." I couldn't do that, knowing their practices. You know what I'm saying?
But like some shitty, sugary, unhealthy snack that you don't even like.
Well, different. But now look,
maybe it is because everything is contextual. So you can't just casually say, "Oh, Atlantic slave trade," and then go to cake and then
no. The slave trade I would relate to, and a lot of the stuff that we consume gets manufactured and like phone screens and stuff like
extreme.
Well, I don't think so, because I do think we turn a blind eye to what is essentially like the wrongs that get done for us to enjoy the stuff that we enjoy. But if you proceed with that logic, then you have to question your own self and your own wrongs. I think we all do. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, right, your average person who just has a smartphone and who just they don't consider that they're making some of the same ethical. They're ignoring some of the same things ethically that people who benefited from like slave labor did. Where it's like there is what is essentially slave labor going on in different countries that we as consumers in America reap the benefits of. Not to say that we all have the power to make it stop tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is like, as consumers, we do have to ask ourselves ethically what it is. Like, how big is the difference between one of us who will continue to get the newest smart device that has the newest screen that has minerals in it that has been like mined by a kid in the worst conditions? How different are we than somebody in England who has to have their coffee, has to have their clothes made of cotton sauce from Virginia, has to have this, have to have that relies on slave labor. Not to say that everything is the exact same as chattel slavery, but just to say that as consumers, we get to divorce ourselves from the fact that this is how easy it is to buy into systems that exploit other people. Right? That doesn't, not to question we all have to answer in our own minds whether we think we're as bad as this person or that, and the third. That's something we'll deal with. But I do think that capitalism tries to sanitize some of the choices and concessions that we make as consumers, and like when you take away that and you don't sanitize them, it does become like, well, damn, what does that make me?
Yeah.
Right? All of a sudden it becomes, well, you could kind of see how somebody who never has to actually interact with or see the effects of like what is going on in slavery in the Caribbean and the transatlantic, how they can just benefit from, okay, I got this, all these things that society can't go without, supposedly, right? That your stuff is being sourced this way. Like your average English citizen who maybe doesn't have a slave, but is perfectly okay with slavery and is eating a bunch of chocolate and doing this and that third, as silly as it sounds, what is their ethical responsibility to say, well, like, I don't want products that are produced this way?
All right, I hear you, and I actually agree 100%, but hear me now.
Mm-hmm.
You have an iPhone 15, correct?
Exactly.
Would you give up your iPhone 15 for, say, a regular, not even Samsung, but just a regular nameless Android?
Yeah, and this is the best.
Yes or no?
Even those Androids,
yes, but
how were they produced?
Still, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but at the same time, it does say something about me that I do have an iPhone 15, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it does say something about me. Now, what I try to do, and this is, again, this doesn't mean it works or not. This is just, again, the little compromise I make with myself.
Yeah.
Right. I try not to fret about upgrading phones.
Yeah.
Like, my last phone was like an 11, right? So, I went like 4 generations without getting a new phone, and I didn't really put like too much hyperfixation on it.
Yeah.
And that's my small way, but I could definitely even, maybe that's not enough.
Divorcing yourself is actually interesting thought to dabble on. Divorce yourself and actually take a look at what's going on in society and just know that the moral questions you have to ask yourself, it really helps you grow as a person too.
Yeah, which I have not. And like, again, I think we all have to come to these things. Like, I have not answered all these questions for myself. I don't always know what the ethical line is, right? Like, even if you want to talk about something even more similar, like blood diamonds and the jewelry game and stuff like that, and people getting taken advantage in the mining of the minerals and all these things, with mining being one of the most oppressive jobs that have mostly been held by a slave class of people for a really long time, right? Just mining is really hard, especially when like it's mostly people doing it. But these are the questions that we kind of get shielded from as a consumer because people don't want us asking them.
Yeah.
And it's not this, it can't change all our behaviors in one go, but what does it mean to ask yourself these questions and how often do we? Right? Because I don't ask them that often. I don't ask them about the people usually.
Facts.
But I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, facts.
Well, people do, and we call them annoying, and we hate being around them. Like, there are some people who don't compromise on their politics.
They're the few, though. They are the few by far.
But do you feel like I think that's a real noble way to be.
Right.
To understand how people work and understand that it's going to make you unpopular, but to say, like, I don't compromise on who I am and what I believe in, like, and I emphasize it in every single fucking thing that I do that I can, where it's like, you gotta have some level of respect to that. Now, anything can be ridiculous because anybody can be ridiculous. But I'm just saying, like, you gotta respect the person who is like, I don't care what room I'm in, I don't compromise on my values and who I am and what I do and what I tolerate, right? Like, for every sitting, like, listen, everybody sitting on this couch might tell a lie about how good a pastry tastes for a check from a pastry company. Yeah. But there's somebody somewhere that's like, if that shit don't taste good, I'm not fucking saying it tastes good, and I'm not paying. I'm not letting somebody
There's no
pay
amount
me.
of money they can pay me to say that this shit tastes good.
There's somebody who be offended at the idea that after they said they didn't like it, you go, well, what if I paid you this amount of money? Would you say you like it?
And you think an extra zero gonna make me say that?
You understand? You know what I'm saying? So exactly.
It'll make me say that. I ain't gonna lie. Listen, it's a little pastry. Eat it if you want to.
And maybe me too.
Eat it if you want to.
Maybe
you know what I'm saying?
Too.
Like, you don't gotta eat the pastry.
Like, I can't tell you that I
That'd be
wouldn't
my
take the
thing.
money.
You don't gotta eat it.
Myself.
Maybe after this conversation, maybe I wouldn't promote the next iPhone.
And I would also try to be slick. I would also try to be real slick about how I endorse it. But like, that's the thing, is if we stretch these things out to the extreme, right? Even like when we take it down to like, can you buy this certain type of jewelry if you know it's built off exploitation? But we can also convince ourselves.
So that means the whole ideology of
luxury,
like wedding rings, engagement rings,
all that stuff, like hyper materialism and all that shit. Like that is a trap for people who aren't wealthy. Right. That's the irony of it. If you're wealthy, it's just ostentatious displays of your wealth that you can't take with you, and you've got enough money to do this and do that. Because a big part of you get what I'm saying. But like, Jesus, man. But like, for like people who aren't like fabulously wealthy and just have all this disposable shit, like all these things are like kind of like traps in like ways like that'll get you to kind of make poor decisions, right? But like, I don't know, with ethics, that's where it becomes tough because I do think that we kind of reward some of the coldest, unethical shit in a lot of ways when it comes down to like business. Like you were mentioning earlier that like there is no ethics in business. Like there's a lot of people that feel like ethics is a much more elastic concern when we're talking about the art of making money. And those are interesting conversations to have in a nation full of people who I think a good amount of them think that they're gonna be rich. They just aren't yet. You know,
man, oh man, guys, we got deep today.
Yeah, facts.
We got real deep today. We don't usually do this. Usually it's a little bit more laughs, but I did enjoy this conversation though.
I just want you guys to know.
And we also gave them an hour and 20.
Next week we'll bring the strippers back.
Yeah. It's gonna be fantastic.
We'll have the strippers jumping out of cakes. It'll be phenomenal. We'll let you guys participate.
It's gonna be great.
You know, big respect. I don't know why Marilyn Monroe would come out of that cake knowing that man got a wife at home.
Right.
I got a lot of respect for Some Like It Hot. It was a great film. I liked a lot of stuff that Marilyn was in or whatever. Anti-blackness aside, because I'm sure there was some. But listen,
it's been fun.
It's been real.
It's been great.
We out of here. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you for rocking with us. And we'll be back.
Jackie should have slapped the shit out of Marilyn.